Okay, okay. We're going to go through a process where our phone is going to connect to a route and try and find a YouTube video to watch. There's a number of different layers, and we'll talk about things as we go through. So when my phone connects to my house router, or either to the ISP telephone network, when it first makes the connection, it gets told a number of things. One thing of these things is the name service for that network. So when I connect to my router at home, it says, if you need to know where something is on the internet, this is where you ask. You come and ask me. And what actually happens is it comes along and your phone says, I want YouTube. Well, my home server looks through a list it's got. It goes, have I got YouTube? And it goes, no, I don't know what YouTube is. Don't know where it is. Hold on a minute, I'm going to ask somebody else. So my router now knows to pass it on to somebody else. And this is all configured. So that asks the ISP. Now, in real cases, what will happen is your ISP probably does know where YouTube is or your local YouTube server is. And it would send a message back saying, here it is. This is the name you need to send it to. And it will give it a set of numbers. And the sets of numbers are the actual physical computer on the internet. So YouTube, we'll talk about those in a bit. So YouTube, it may turn around and say, I know where YouTube is. Here's the value. So it may send back, here's YouTube, and it will give you possibly 4 numbers, or on a different protocol, 6 numbers, depending on if we're using IP6 or IP4. We'll talk IP4. So it's going to turn back a number and say something like 168.132.5.1. The ISP sends that back to my router. My router puts this into its table now. So it's now got this and sends that back to your phone. And then your phone directly asks for that computer and make a connection. The system will find a way to find that computer. So I'm going to say this computer over here is 168.325.1. And this doesn't have to go back into the network. So if at a later point I come along from my computer and try finding YouTube, so if my computer connects and says, oh, where's YouTube? It immediately gets a reply from here. So the first one went off, the phone didn't know, the home didn't know, so it went to the ISP. The ISP told me where YouTube was, sent it back. My home router then made a little record of it, saying, let's remember this for future. Sent it back to the phone, and the phone then did what it needed to. And then any device that comes along afterwards, for a certain amount of time, it will know immediately where it is without going off to the internet. Now, what can happen is either things update regularly, or just to make sure things are relatively new, occasionally they'll go and check. So our ISP may go to another server, may go up to Cloudflare, and ask Cloudflare, just checking what's the address for YouTube, and it sends it back. When it sends it back, it updates its table, the cache. And that sends it back, and the router updates its cache. Your phone probably now has its own version. It won't even ask the home router now. It'll say, I want YouTube, and it will just pass the message straight through without asking, where is it? It will immediately say, I want to talk to this computer, this number. So your phone will even have a list of numbers that it recognizes. And it'll have YouTube is on 168 ... Now, eventually, there is actually a center point, and again, it's back on the ICANN company, the IANA, the Internet Assigned Number Authority. They are actually assigning what these numbers can be and making sure things are updated. And there's a group of companies that all provide the central service. And the purpose of the caches at each layer is so that not every request has to go all the way up to one of these routers. We're trying to resolve the information as early as possible. It makes it faster for you to know where you're going to, and it stops these servers getting overloaded. A couple of other bits that can happen though is your DNS request. It will probably have to go through these computers, but it is possible to set up a computer that will. I've actually got it on my TV. I don't like all the adverts I'm getting through Tele2 at the moment. So I actually I've set my computer up to go to, well, my television, to go to its DNS check, to jump through all of this and go straight up to Cloudflare. And that goes and asks, Cloudflare, where is this server? So if it doesn't know, it gets it straight from Cloudflare. And the advantage there is I'm more likely to get a more international YouTube server. The ISP may actually have their own copy. And that will actually, that's why you get so much advertising. And that's how things like Tele2 give you free YouTube. Okay, that's the end of that first video.